Thank you very much for being with us tonight. I'd like to start with you, Owen Gibson, you the correspondent for The Guardian. And basically, it's the English-speaking nations, and especially the UK, who started it all. You were somehow pitbull of the international press and led the attack. So my first question is why? How can you explain that it started from your country, from your newspaper, the whole offensive against corruption in the world of football?
On FIFA in particular? Well, I think there's a number of elements. Partly, of course, the fact that England has bid for several World Cups and not won them. That probably wasn't insignificant. And it was interesting when England bid for the 2018 World Cup. They very much played the FIFA game, and they tried to do all the things that you're supposed to do when you're bidding for a World Cup. And there was a lot of anger when they didn't win that race, and Russia won it, of course. The same thing happened with America and Qatar, and I think there was an element here of people sort of throwing up their hands and sort of saying, enough is enough. But I think there's also the fact that there's a very competitive media in the UK. There's been one or two journalists who've been working away on this for years, not least Andrew Jennings, who you saw up there. And a lot of this has been hiding in plain sight for a long time, but it needed that catalyst, I think, of the 2022 vote, and in particular the Qatar decision, for people to say, look, this is ridiculous, let's have a proper look at it. And I think once the British media puts its mind to something or starts down a particular route, then I think you often see results from that. But then, of course, it was only when the FBI finally swooped in that we saw real action. For a long time, FIFA was able to shrug this off.
Jean-Louis Lopez, the filmmaker, was explaining that quite often it's the UK people who are very vocal, very strong about it. It's a kind of a different journalism than from anywhere around the world. Turning to you, your organization pleads for human rights in the world of football and in sports in general. When you watch the film, what is striking is the whole long history. And it's quite striking to say that there are common points between Sepp Blatter, who is a very seductive guy, Avalanche as well. So what's changed? Was there a real change, or except an increase in the amounts dealt with, or was it the same all along FIFA's history?
Yeah, and I probably want to answer that question by talking about the IOC, and I'll begin to widen it out a bit because, it's a human rights festival. My organization is an international think tank on the relationship between business and human rights, and we're now facilitating a process of UN agencies, some of the sponsors, trade unions, NGOs, some of the sports bodies, to look particularly at the impact of these mega sporting events. And for us, and I think for many people, and the film reflects this, Qatar was a tipping point on the corruption issue, but Qatar has been a tipping point on the human rights issue too. I mean, how many people need to die for you to put on a mega sporting event? And there's a question, how many people need to die? I mean, the Commonwealth Games in India, 50 people died. For Brazil, it was around about 10. The trade unions have predicted 2,000 fatalities between now and 2022. People debate the figures. Let's not argue about the figures, but how many people have to die for one of these events? And I think corruption is an issue unto itself, but corruption is no friend of human rights. No friend at all. The lack of transparency, the goldfish bowl environment that the film showed is also the kind of environment in which human rights are abused and no questions are asked. So, yeah.
Qatar for you was a turning point. It was the big mistake that changed or broke the system.
No, the system, I think, has been, I mean, if you go back to we touched a little bit the pre-war history of FIFA with Italy, but Coca-Cola's association with the International Olympic Committee goes back much, much further, 1928, I believe. And you can go on the internet to see memorabilia from 1936 in Berlin, where you have the Coke logo and the swastika together. You can see these things, both for the Berlin Summer Games and also the Garmisch Winter Olympics. It's a long-standing issue, and I think the one thing that we all need to reflect on is there are very few people with clean hands. And also, as we move forward, a multi-stakeholder approach is the only way that we can resolve this, because some level of mutual accountability, because even governments, and I think, Owen, you were saying this, governments were willing to play the game until it reached some tipping point. And we haven't yet seen, I think, the beginning of the level of corruption within government on sport. And we think about tennis, we can think about other aspects. There are many more stories to be told. So the only way forward to rebuild trust is mutual accountability, where everybody watches everybody. And we do so in a spirit of transparency and accountability.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say, I mean, I think you're right. The big link here between the corruption and the human rights issues is that lack of transparency, and the fact and the extent to which all these things melded together into a pot that enabled nobody to have any proper scrutiny of it. I mean, I was there throughout that bidding process for the 2018 and 2022 World Cups, and, you know, trust me, human rights were the last thing on anybody's mind, you know, and certainly the sort of technical comparison between the merits of the various bids were the last things on anybody's mind. And in that environment, not only does corruption flourish, but you fail to have a proper scrutiny of what these bids actually mean as against one another.
Fani, Misailidi, vous représentez la FIFA, vous avez le rôle le plus difficile.
Fani, thank you for being with us. You actually represent FIFA, which is not exactly the best place. You've been under considerable attack since May. What do you think of the film that we've just watched? Thank you very much for this question. Indeed, the film gives a lot of information as to the history, the past of FIFA, and the way the organization grew over time. It goes back to the May 2015 events that started the deepest crisis ever known by FIFA. What I think is missing in the film is all the positive work that the organization has been doing over the years. I was asking myself when we were watching the film what people here were thinking about the organization when they were watching it. I think there's definitely a lot of positive things. Many initiatives and programs have been set up by FIFA to develop football, to build capacity within national federations, because our role is to promote football, to put it at the service of society. And as Sami Kanan said at the beginning, sport has an immense role to play for societies and younger generations. I think this is one side that has been left out in the film, and it's a shame. One last thing. The film ends on a question mark. Is FIFA going to make it? Is it going to recover? I'd like to have a positive and optimistic note. I believe that, yes, different steps, reforms have been undertaken. In the February 2016 Congress, a new president has been elected. There's a new awareness. People believe that things have to be done differently. Of course, it's a long way. It will be hard. We have to go through these steps. But I believe that maybe the next time you shoot a film, it'll be on the positive work of FIFA.
Jean-Louis Lopez? Perez, sorry. Jean-Louis Perez, you will receive a microphone. As the English journalist, you impose yourself. No. Yes, thank you. Hear what has been said, but I've heard it. But what is important to me of course, many things are being done in the FIFA, but the issue is the motivation, and the good things are a bit more and the bad things are a bit less. But what is important for the leaders is to realize how much they are disconnected from reality and how these billions of dollars are not used well. When you see how money is used in Africa, when I've been in Africa and Cameroon, you know the development of football in Cameroon. Of course, FIFA is good to see some positive things with FIFA. But my work as a journalist is to say what is going wrong. And we could have shooted a film of 3 or 4 hours. I'm not condemning what is going to be done, but I have some reservations because the president is talking a lot about the image of FIFA, but don't have to change the image. It's the whole system which has been changed. If I'm doing the devil's advocate, it has always worked like that in the world of sport and football. All the people knowing this world, you have a lot of big leaders, astute leaders who are making big arrangements and deals. So if you were to limit the world of sport to some European countries, which good traditions, but if you want to open up the sport to other countries, it's always going to be like this. So as well in FIFA, inside of the FIFAs and outside of the FIFA, it's a kind of people pretend that everything is going smoothly. And don't you lie to yourself? Rimet or Blatter, they use the same recipes as a matter of fact. Nothing changed. What changed, actually? So I would like to leave the floor to our Gibson. Gibson. But nobody is going to believe that FIFA is going to build peace across the world. Only FIFA is believing that they are going to bring peace between Palestinians and Israelis. And it sends Jules Rimet. Just to stay in my role of devil's advocate, is the money at stake so big? When you talking about the different money talk, when you talk about the money in the different other industries like pharma industry, don't you exaggerate a bit the things about the FIFA, because maybe this world is not as corrupt as the others.
I think there is corruption in all areas of business, certainly. Look at mining, look at big pharma. Look at almost any area you care to name of the sort of globalized economies. But what's different about sport, I think, is two things. One is it uses this sort of language of peace and development and so on. And Sepp Blatter was the master at this, and he learned from Havelange how to do this, to cloak the activities in this sort of language. And it's true of the IOC as well. And the second thing I think is that both things can be true. Football can be a force for good, and there are some good people working at FIFA doing some good things. But how much better could it be if it was a transparent system where the money went to where it was most needed, and we could properly develop football around the world, and a lot of the money wasn't leaching out into corrupt areas? So, I mean, I don't think it's a completely false ideal that we can have a well-run global football organisation that brings in a lot of money from commercial sponsors and then distributes it around the world in a proper way. That shouldn't be impossible.
Can I add to that briefly? I mean, I think a third point is, in a way, this legal fiction around the impunity of sport. Now, there are reasons for that. I mean, we don't want sports to be over-politicized, and I think there have been attempts by government and others to insulate sport from politics in that way. But look what we've created because of that. So we have tools. We have the OECD guidelines for multinational enterprises, UN guiding principles on business and human rights. So other sectors have become a bit more accountable and a bit more transparent. Conflict minerals, the trading processes that go on in this country as well, a bit more transparent, a bit more accountable. But somehow, we always saw sport different. And I think what's happened now, and at least now, the Swiss government has clarified that FIFA will be treated like a business in terms of its human rights responsibilities and its accountability. But I don't think we ever want to go to a position where sport is overtly political. But this film reminds us that actually the immunity of sport from politics is a fiction. Anyway, just look how political sport is.
Role of Americans, you are talking about political influence. You just mentioned it before. People of FIFA said that there was a political intervention. There was something a hidden agenda from the FBI.
It suits FIFA to think that the British media are out to get them because, you know, the game was stolen from Sir Stanley Rouse, and, you know, that the British have been bitter ever since. And it suits them to think that the Americans are going after them because they didn't win the 2022 World Cup. But, I mean, the truth is that the FBI were going after offences that were committed on their soil, offences around tax evasion, around corruption, around racketeering, and that's why they were going after these individuals, and it led them back to FIFA and back to world football. So it's not some sort of crazed revenge plot. It is genuinely, I think, that the FBI saw this, you know, huge racketeering. I mean, they've called it a they use the same terminology about FIFA as they use about, you know, corrupt organisations, and the FIFA analogy, I think, is not true clearly of the 400 staff who work at FIFA, but was true of that mafia-like cabal of individuals who took millions and millions of dollars out of the game. So, you know, I think you know, there was a level in which the US were obviously very embarrassed about losing the 2022 vote. Former President Clinton went all the way to Zurich, came back empty-handed. There was an element there, I think, but it's not the overriding element. The overriding element is law enforcement.
Do you think that it's amazing how differences survive to this whole story? The fact that Africans and Russians are on the side of avalanche, like today, there is culturally something which is very deep. For instance, the corruption has not the same meaning in Russia that it has here, or the personal relations do not have the same meaning as it has in Europe, and the country from the south playing a game which is not played in the north. It's a problem of wealth, because if you have a very rich country going to a poor country, so you don't react the same way if it is a rich country or a poor country. For a poor country, for a country like Cameroon, which is poor, $20 million is a huge amount of money, but which is not for a country like France. So the president of Cameroon came to power at the same time as François Mitterrand. So, but the public should be aware, the FIFA should be aware, before sending 20 million to Cameroon, first question to ask is who is going to get this money? Because one is perfectly aware of the fact that the persons who are going to get the money are not those directly involved in sport.
Very quickly, it is true, of course, that there are different cultures around the world. There are different ways of doing business. What's culturally acceptable in South America might not be the same as what is culturally acceptable in Europe. But that doesn't mean you can't have a common standard for a global organisation that holds the money that it distributes to that standard. And I think that's the bit that's sometimes missed. Of course, culturally, things are different around the world. But that doesn't mean as the organisation that controls this money, you can't hold people to a certain standard.
Parce que c'est une voix par pays, la FIFA. C'est-à-dire que
in FIFA, you have one vote per country. So Antigua and Trinidad is as heavy as in its vote as Brazil. What can be changed if you want to be concrete in the next time? What will you change in your company or house for the next months?
Well, different things can be done. First of all, a set of reforms has been approved, and I believe this is going to be the basis for a substantial change. You mentioned the audit carried out and the use of a development fund. That's another thing that is going to change completely. The number of associations that will be increased from 10 to 20%, the number of associations audited, and this will be carried out by FIFA according to national standards. will be changes as well as to the oversight carried out by the Audit and Conformity Commission. It will have an increased mandate, and they will be able to control the use of funds. They will report to relevant bodies within FIFA, and if need be, carry out action and take measures against associations that would not use the fund for the initial aim. Another big thing will be the separation of power. It'll be more clear between the executive committee, which will be changed and widened in the future. There'll be more members in the council, and on the other hand, the administrative and operational function that will be carried out by the General Secretary. So basically, the contract policy will be under council responsibility, and now at the moment under the Executive Secretary, but the negotiation function will be carried out by the administration. I'd like to add one thing about human rights, because we've talked about governance, essentially. I could give you even more examples of different things that we want to do to improve governance, ethics, transparency, accountability, reporting. But other important changes relate to human rights. On that particular issue, FIFA isn't starting from scratch. There have been many initiatives, many elements in what we do that relate directly to the human rights dimension, whether it is the fight against racism, discrimination, fight for environment. This within the World Cup especially. We've got different programs that have a social dimension, putting football together with health and education, with children to improve knowledge about non-communicable diseases, obesity, and so on. So there are many initiatives related to human rights. Another thing that is changing at the moment is that we are in the process of looking back at all of our operations to see what opportunities we have to mainstream even more human rights and due diligence into all our programs. I'd like to open the floor now to people in the audience. Questions? Yes, thank you very much for the film and for the discussion. It gives you indeed a very interesting historical perspective. I think we are probably witnessed a change in culture from the election of Mr. Avalanche and the broadcasting rights and the huge power of sponsors and influence peddling around the World Cups. My question is, for these big events like the World Cup or the Olympic Games, as you said, how many people need to die for things to change? I have the feeling that these big events will keep going. I'm a municipal council here in the city of Geneva, but I believe that these events will remain the same. Football will remain a very popular game. Can you replace Olympic Games or World Cups by something else, some kind of a different event that will not continue this pervasive mechanism?
Yeah. And I think you mentioned earlier our vision. I mean, the vision cannot be that every World Cup is held in London and every future Olympic Games is held in Paris. I mean, that would be quite nice for me, but that's not the vision. I mean, we need a vision where mega sporting events are held in different parts of the world. I think we probably all agree on that. However, the current way of doing it is clearly wrong, is corrupt. Do these things really have to cost at a minimum $10 billion? Do they really have to cost at a minimum $10 billion to put on? I mean, it makes no sense. The people of Boston, the people of Hamburg, and the people of Oslo have all voted recently not to host mega sporting events. They all pulled out of the shortlists. These events are losing their social license. I was at the OECD a few days ago discussing this. Even the economics around mega sporting events are mixed, the evidence.
But it's also very interesting that actually that's led to, you know, Baku, Sochi, and so on, wanting to step up to the plate.
But that's
right.
Right.
Actually, it's not working for them either,
No.
because actually, the image laundering they want to do, you know, has just invited in the world's media, and they've you know shown that up for what it is. So you're right, from both sides of the equation, if you like. There's sort of democratic nations and non-democratic nations.
Sorry to interrupt, but let's take one example, Messi. Messi stands for extraordinary values, even as a personal background, but he takes such a load of money. Is that embarrassing, do you think? Is that too much? If you take it for granted that he takes loads of money, you also have to admit that the big amounts of money are involved in FIFA. So maybe I think it's the law of sports. What do you think?
But can FIFA not use some of that money to help countries put on these events? There's no reason why they shouldn't go around the world. I'd never argue that the World Cup shouldn't.
Mais comme Messi pourrait utiliser une partie de son argent pour le donner, c'est un débat qui touche beaucoup de gens. Mais
là-dessus, the point being, instead of forcing Brazil, for example, to spend money that could be spent on education and health to build stadiums that will no longer be used in you know, straight after the World Cup, then can some of this money within sport, within football, not be used to help stage those events in a more sustainable way?
Yes, and there could be a lot that could be done. I mean, if we want in the future bidding from cities around the world and countries to include human rights and these issues, there's going to be a cost there. We can't just make it so that only the big companies can sponsor and only the big countries can host. So what can we do with some of this money to make sure that it's a level playing field? So if you're a small country somewhere in the world, you can host or play part of a role in hosting an event at a much lower cost, and you're going to get a lot more help around the infrastructure, the accountability, etc. The point about sports people and they earning so much, there are two constituents who are missing from this table at the moment. One is professional sports industry, baseball, basketball, Formula One, you know, with huge amounts of money in commercial sport, and they haven't moved on human rights yet. And the second, although the sponsors are at the table, where are the broadcasters? We heard from the film, more money in broadcast rights now than there is in sponsorship. Has anybody seen one of the broadcasters join in around the table yet and step forward and take their responsibility? So there are still some empty chairs that we need to fill.
Jean-Louis?
Oui, il y a quand même quelque chose, pour répondre à votre question, qui est pervers dans le système et qui ne va pas du tout dans le bon sens, c'est qu'au Brésil, les Brésiliens n'ont pas pu assister à la Coupe du Monde parce que les billets étaient trop chers. Et vous voyez, le fait que l'argent soit toujours, qu'il y ait toujours plus d'argent investi, ça veut dire qu'il faut en rapporter beaucoup aussi. Et à un moment donné, le prix des places d'une Coupe du Monde ne permet plus à des gens qui n'ont pas les moyens de payer 150, 200, je parle en euros, 300 € pour des petits matchs, hein, j'entends, pour aller voir un match de foot. Donc, où on va, quoi? C'est-à-dire que cette financiarisation absolue du sport, et du football en particulier, a des résultats pervers. C'est-à-dire que les gens sont obligés de regarder le match à la télé ou au Brésil, dans les favelas. Et c'est pour ça qu'il y a eu des manifestations. C'est pour ça que les gens ont demandé aux dirigeants brésiliens de mettre l'argent, enfin en tout cas d'investir autrement, parce que finalement, c'est pas eux qui en ont profité.
Autre question, on continue comme ça en ouvrant la discussion, madame, oui? Devant. De toute façon, tout le monde aura la parole, mais...
Thank you so much. My name is Anna. I'm a volunteer here at the festival. Thank you so much for this movie. Now, my question is for Mrs. Fani Misailidi. Now, Qatar is going to happen whether we like it or not, unfortunately. I was wondering whether the changes, the recent changes in FIFA's leadership will drive certain advancements in the human rights agenda using the Qatar platform. I'm specifically referring to women's access to sports in that region of the world. Thank you so much.
Oui, merci pour la question. Par rapport d'abord à la Coupe du Monde de 2022 au Qatar, il y a des changements qui ont lieu déjà à l'heure qu'on parle. Nous travaillons de manière très régulière avec les autorités compétentes qataries pour s'assurer à ce que les conditions de travail dans les constructions qui sont liées, l'infrastructure qui est liée à la Coupe du Monde, s'efface selon des standards et des normes internationales de santé et de sécurité. L'entité responsable sur place qui a la tâche de superviser, si vous voulez, les sites et l'infrastructure qui est à la Coupe du Monde, ça s'appelle le Comité suprême pour l'héritage et la livraison, ont déjà mis en place, ça fait 2 ans, toute une série de standards et de normes internationales pour les constructions liées à la Coupe du Monde, qui couvrent toute une série de domaines, comme par exemple la santé, la sécurité, des conditions de logement pour les travailleurs migrants, en mettant aussi en place des audits à 4 niveaux pour assurer à ce qu'il y ait une conformité entre les standards vis-à-vis des prestataires et des sous-traitants qui sont engagés dans des projets liés à la Coupe du Monde. Donc effectivement, je ne dis pas que c'est la solution en tout, que c'est une panacée, mais c'est quand même une étape et une initiative et une mesure qui va dans le bon sens, dans la bonne direction et qu'il faut la reconnaître aussi. Par rapport au accès aux femmes au sport au Moyen-Orient en général, il y a toute une série d'initiatives de la FIFA et de campagnes. Je me réfère par exemple, nous avons en place la campagne Live Your Goals, qui effectivement vise à promouvoir la position et l'accès aux femmes au sport. Donc, il y a des fédérations nationales qui se sont déjà associées à ce genre de campagne pour une prise de conscience et pour sensibiliser sur les questions que vous évoquez. Donc, je pense qu'il y a quand même des choses positives qui ont lieu et qu'il faut aussi donner le temps pour avoir des résultats encore plus importants.
Fanny, merci. Oui, madame.
Oui, j'ai une question-remarque à propos d'une... En fait, c'est une espèce de solution qu'on pourrait trouver. Est-ce que de payer des impôts dans les pays où vous entrez à enlever toutes ces... laisser les pays hôtes mettre des taxes, tout le genre des tariffs sur les importations, sur tout ce qu'on a vu que la FIFA met toutes ses exigences pour tous les biens et toutes les choses qui entrent dans le pays hôte. Est-ce que ce ne serait pas un argent qui pourrait rentrer dans le pays hôte, qui ferait en sorte que, par exemple au Brésil, les gens ils sont révolutionnés parce que c'était eux les contribuables qui devaient payer à la place de la FIFA qui est en train d'organiser cet événement.
Alors peut-être les deux, brièvement, Fanny puis John Morrison. Je crois que c'est quand même vous la première questionnée.
You're going to go first,
et puis ensuite peut-être, hein, mais c'est quand même vous qui êtes en premier.
Oui, effectivement, le film a mentionné que lors de la Coupe du Monde, il y a certaines, je ne sais pas si le terme exigence est correct, mais en tout cas, il y a certains besoins pour faciliter l'organisation de la Coupe du Monde. Et cette réalité est valable pour chaque compétition d'une ampleur comme la Coupe du Monde. C'est valable pour une compétition d'une autre organisation, pour des événements majeurs culturels, etc. Il ne s'agit pas d'une exonération fiscale complète. Il s'agit des ajustements qui sont nécessaires dans la loi nationale pour faciliter sur un plan opérationnel l'organisation de la compétition. Donc si par exemple on parle des procédures des importations de certains produits, ce sont des produits qui sont nécessaires pour la Coupe du Monde et ce sont ces genres de facilitations qui sont quand même nécessaires pour qu'une compétition de cette ampleur puisse avoir lieu. En même temps, le bureau de la FIFA a une filiale au pays organisateur et par exemple le bureau de la FIFA dans un pays autre paie normalement les taxes.
Alors, peut-être John Moderator, enfin c'est légal, mais allez-y.
Yeah. So it's not just mega sporting associate. I mean, in FIFA and IOC that have questions to answer around tax. Big business generally, there's lots of questions around how taxes move. You know, where's it paid? Do people pay the right amount? But this is one of the questions. I mean, it's implicit, I think, when we see the film, that maybe not as much tax as we would like is being paid in relation to these events. Now, why is that? Is it because of, you know, almost the way that sports bodies operate like intergovernmental organizations? I mean, are they intergovernmental organizations? Are they exempt from these rules? But if they're not, if they are businesses, then they should be paying tax like any other company. I mean, I really don't understand why there's a gap in the middle. And I think it's one of the stories to come is the whole issue of tax and mega sporting events.
Agreed. And also just bringing it back to human rights as well. I mean, it's always struck me as one of the huge ironies that FIFA and the IOC can go in and make all these demands of host countries. And I've read through these 400- or 500-page documents, hosting agreements. You know, they can make demands on tax-free income. They can make demands on what products can be sold in stadiums, whether or not beer can be sold, and so on. And yet, up till recently, they felt unable to make any demands on the advancement of human rights in those countries regarding the very people building the stadiums and so on. So that was always, you know, a clear paradox at the heart of all this.
Madame. Oui. Madame tout au fond là, voilà.
La première question à laquelle la représentante de la FIFA a répondu, c'était les changements qui allaient intervenir prochainement au sein de la FIFA. Alors moi, ce qui m'inquiète, c'est que tout ce qui a été mentionné me faisait penser que la FIFA allait poursuivre un fonctionnement en vase clos. Donc je pense qu'on devrait quand même être inquiet et puis qu'il faudrait pouvoir trouver des mécanismes de transparence où ces grandes organisations doivent rendre des comptes au public et aux États. J'aimerais aussi poser une question concernant le fonctionnement des grandes institutions de sport, que moi je ne connais pas bien, mais il me semble, en vous écoutant, c'est que ces institutions de sport ont un pouvoir énorme et en fait bien plus important que les États, et qui fait qu'au fond, elles peuvent imposer leurs critères d'attribution, de coupe, etc.
Alors, est-ce qu'il faut comment faire pour qu'il y ait plus de contrôle externe, que la FIFA ne décide pas entre soi, hein, c'était un peu le thème de votre film, entre autres.
Vous voulez répondre peut-être ou...
Allez-y. Peut-être que je me suis mal exprimée, excusez-moi. La FIFA est domiciliée en Suisse. Elle est régie par la loi suisse, par le droit d'association. Elle donne des comptes et elle est réglementée selon la loi suisse. Il ne faut pas croire que nous opérons dans l'abstrait ou sans rendre des comptes aux autorités compétentes publiques. Maintenant, s'il faut améliorer encore le niveau de la transparence, la question est clairement oui. Il va falloir faire la même chose dans l'avenir aussi. C'est un défi continu. La transparence n'est jamais parfaite, n'est jamais un défi qu'on relève et qu'on dit voilà, maintenant on est transparent, on fait tout bien et il ne faut plus rien essayer d'améliorer ou d'apporter des ajustements nécessaires. Donc, je pense qu'il y a beaucoup d'informations par rapport aux activités, aux opérations de la FIFA qui sont disponibles au public. Maintenant, s'il y a moyen de faire encore mieux, ça c'est clair et la réponse est oui à ça. Et si vous avez eu l'impression que l'intention est de continuer à faire les choses comme auparavant, mais alors c'est clairement une erreur de ma part.
Jean-Louis.
Oui, non, mais on a bien compris, je crois, ce que vous avez dit. En tout cas, moi, je l'ai bien compris. Le truc, ce qui est dingue à la FIFA, c'est qu'ils ont voté aujourd'hui la transparence des salaires en 2016. C'est-à-dire qu'il a fallu attendre toute cette crise pour que cette organisation, finalement, arrive dans un minimum de transparence, de bonne gouvernance, ce que les entreprises, les grosses entreprises multinationales partout dans le monde font depuis très longtemps. À la FIFA, ce n'était pas le cas. Les salaires n'étaient pas connus, on ne connaissait pas. Là, visiblement, ça a été voté, ça va être fait. Il y a quelque chose, moi, qui m'inquiète un peu plus, c'est-à-dire que changer, dire qu'on va changer, c'est bien, mais quand vous avez... c'est pas moi qui le dis, c'est la procédure américaine du FBI. KPMG, qu'on mentionne dans le film, qui fait des audits. C'est-à-dire qu'aujourd'hui, comment ça va se passer? KPMG se dit, ah, on va faire des meilleurs audits, parce que ça veut dire que les audits jusqu'à présent, ils étaient complètement bidons. KPMG, qui est le leader mondial des audits de ce genre de choses. C'est donc un double discours, moi, personnellement, que j'ai du mal. Mais je veux bien vous croire, hein, et si ça change vraiment, tant mieux. Mais c'est un double discours qui est difficile à entendre pour les citoyens, journalistes. Voilà. Pourquoi KPMG ne fait pas son travail Et encore une fois, ce n'est pas mon enquête qui le dit, c'est celle de la justice américaine.
Autre question? Il y en avait plusieurs ici. Voilà, monsieur.
Oui, merci beaucoup. Un point très important, parce que de nos jours, le football est devenu autre que dans le passé. On ne peut pas imaginer qu'un club de football peut générer beaucoup plus d'argent que ce club peut lui-même produire, grâce à un transfert d'une star. Dans ce cas-là, si c'est le cas, par exemple, Barcelone FC, Football Club, pourrait devenir Barcelone Bank Club. Il y a beaucoup d'experts en la matière, y compris l'ancien numéro 1 de l'UEFA, qui sont contre ça. Ça, c'est très important. Deuxième point, sur le sport et le football, c'est que vers la mi-90, et avant le départ de Joe Avalanche, qui est arrivé en 74, c'est vrai, la FIFA a décidé de distribuer des dizaines, des centaines de millions de dollars pour les fédérations nationaux, à savoir, ils sont partis où? C'est vrai que la FIFA avait par-delà le coût. Mais c'est très important de comprendre aussi cette période-là. Juste avant l'arrivée de Blatter, nous vivons une nouvelle ère de new technologies, voilà, de communication et d'information. À la FIFA, on brasse et on manage la propriété intellectuelle. On vend et on achète des licences. C'est ça qui est beaucoup plus très important que beaucoup plus, même les voix des États. C'est vrai, Trinidad et Tobago, Brésil, mais UK et le Royaume-Uni a toujours eu 5 voix depuis le début, parce que Scotland, Welsh, England, Ireland, ils ont une voix à part entière, et aussi ils peuvent participer à la Coupe du Monde, tout comme, alors que le continent africain participe avec 2 pays, n'est-ce pas? Ah, ça a été modifié récemment, oui, c'est vrai. Mais donc, il faudrait comprendre aussi que les nouvelles technologies, propriété intellectuelle, c'est ce qui fait de la FIFA ce qu'elle est. Donc, managing, tradable, les marques, les produits que vous parliez d'une manière un peu sous-entendue, les produits commerciaux drinkable pendant cette période, qui fait en sorte qu'il y a des énormes, beaucoup de choses à manager. Mais ma question, pour le choc de la civilisation qui a fait en sorte de ne pas imaginer Monaco peut-être organiser la Coupe d'Europe, comme un petit pays qui organise beaucoup de congrès mondiaux, il va organiser la Coupe du Monde de football, oui, mais aussi il y avait la crise financière. C'est très important, ça comprendre. Donc, si j'arrive à ma question, est-ce que vous pouvez comprendre Huntington qui disait ce qu'il disait? C'est beaucoup plus ça. Et pour un avenir meilleur de la FIFA, c'est vrai, peut-être une organisation qui a eu l'audace de quand même organiser l'Assemblée générale alors que les membres de comité venaient de rentrer en tôle et que malgré ça, numéro 1 a été réélu pour la 6e fois. Mais la session extraordinaire récemment a fait une bonne chose parce qu'elle a limité à 3 mandats le président actuel. Mais ma question, que pensez-vous alors? Parce qu'au Qatar, ou bien vous pouvez aller à Dubaï aussi, c'est peut-être moins qu'en Suisse. Vous pouvez faire du ski, mais c'est beaucoup mieux en Suisse. Donc c'est beaucoup plus, j'insiste, sur le management de la propriété intellectuelle. Vous êtes tous des reporters sur le panel, à une seule exception près peut-être. Voilà. J'étais clair, Darius?
Merci. Merci beaucoup. On va grouper les questions. Alors, est-ce qu'il y a une autre question qui complète la question de monsieur? Alors, il y avait d'autres questions, il y avait d'autres mains levées. Non? Si, il y avait tout à l'heure. Ah voilà, monsieur.
Oui, je voulais juste rappeler, en tant que citoyen suisse, présent ici, on est à Genève, on est en Suisse, et la FIFA est en Suisse. C'est quand même intéressant de voir que la FIFA vit dans un lieu de non-droit. C'est assez net. C'est une association, donc elle bénéficie d'un statut d'association, mais ça n'est pas une association. C'est un monde, on l'a vu aussi, une mafia en l'occurrence. Mais comme elle a le statut d'association, on n'entre pas, il n'y a pas cette transparence, il n'y a pas cette diffusion d'informations, évidemment aucune. Alors, est-ce qu'un jour, nous, citoyens, ou bien nos représentants dans les parlements, cantonaux ou fédéraux, se décident à aussi considérer qu'il n'y a pas que faire venir les organisations, les associations, de n'importe quoi, comme on fait en Suisse, pour avoir quelques salaires à distribuer autour. Et est-ce qu'on va entrer dans un état de droit en Suisse aussi, en relation avec tout ce monde international qui vient ici, qui prospère? Je ne parle pas, mais je le mentionne quand même, la question des banques, dont on a dit qu'elles avaient moralisé le contrôle des dépôts qui se font chez elles, et dont on sait que ce n'est pas le cas. Mais c'était juste pour rappeler qu'on est dans ce contexte-là, et que nous avons une responsabilité, nous, Suisses, en tant qu'hôtes d'une telle organisation.
Monsieur, merci. L'œil critique sur la Suisse, vous l'avez, Jean-Louis, dans le film. On comprend que dès les commencements, la FIA s'installe en Suisse, ce n'est pas pour la beauté du paysage, c'est parce qu'il y a une solidité de l'argent qui fait que Zurich est intéressant. Il y a le train aussi, vous dites. C'est facile d'arriver en train de partout. Mais enfin,
il y a plusieurs raisons. La stabilité des changes à l'époque est importante. Ouais.
Pour faire suite à la question de monsieur, peut-être, Owen, vous qui êtes enquêteur, est-ce que la dimension suisse a compté? Est-ce que notamment les banques suisses, est-ce qu'il y a encore là beaucoup de lièvres à lever? Le rôle des banques suisses dans tous les réseaux de corruption?
Yes, very much so. I think there's very much more to come. I mean, it's no coincidence that major sporting organisations have ended up either in Switzerland or, in the case of the IAAF, in Monaco. But I think the gentleman makes a really interesting point, which is that the mood, from where I sit, seems to have shifted in Switzerland. It's gone from being very proud of hosting these organisations and very proud of its banking system to being somewhat more questioning, perhaps even a little embarrassed. And I think it's very interesting that the Swiss Attorney General is now leading the fight and seems to be almost competing with the US to see where they can get to with their investigation. So I do sense a different sort of political mood and sort of judicial mood within Switzerland. I think that's very encouraging. And I think, generally, the public, a very generic term, but the people around the world want to see this thing fixed. And I think that's true, as true of Switzerland as it is for anywhere else.
No, I'd agree with that. But I would like to defend the right of Scotland and England to have seats in... I'm half Scottish, half English, and we're having enough problems in terms of who we are in the UK and whether we should be in Europe or not. Let's not complicate it anymore. But no, very much. I mean, I think... Switzerland, it's like the commodity trading issue. It's like the Nazi gold issue before that. I mean, there's been a series of issues over the past 20, 30 years, often involving the Americans too. It's interesting. This is another. I do think the Swiss government is serious now to move on this. The Americans are as well. I would not for a minute pretend, though, that all the problems sit in sports federations here. There's a complex web of problems around modern sport. And I do very much hope and very pleased the Swiss government and the American governments are very much involved in our process. We're just waiting, as I say, for the broadcasters to join us and maybe some more of the sponsors, etc. But this regaining of social license of sport is going to take a long, long time. And what the film points at is the culture issue. So you can change your governance, you can put in place principles and due diligence, but this culture question, I don't think until we change the culture do we regain trust.
Voilà, je veux frustrer personne, mais Fanny, vous vouliez ajouter quelque chose?
Oui, juste une réaction par rapport à ce que John vient de dire. Effectivement, je pense aussi que chaque organisation peut avoir en place les meilleurs cadres réglementaires, les meilleures dispositions en matière de gouvernance ou d'éthique ou de conformité. Si tout cela n'est pas accompagné d'une mentalité et culture adéquate, ça reste sur papier. Donc effectivement, ce qui est en train de changer au niveau de réforme doit être soutenu, accompagné par la mentalité et la culture adéquate et correspondante. Ça, c'est clair.
I mean, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I've written myself several times that, you know, it's the culture that's the thing. And, you know, I didn't feel when I was in FIFA for this extraordinary Congress and Gianni Infantino was elected as the new president, I personally didn't feel that change of culture. It felt to me like an organisation that was regrouping, that was doing and saying some of the right things. I think some of the technical governance changes are clearly to be welcomed, but there's not the sign to me yet that this is an organisation that really gets the scale of the challenge in overhauling its culture.
Non, je suis d'accord, je voulais juste souligner quand même que c'est la première fois que je parle finalement depuis longtemps avec quelqu'un de la FIFA, et c'est bien que vous soyez venu, et on a eu de la chance parce que moi je les ai cherchés pendant très longtemps.
J'aurais préféré notre contexte peut-être.
Donc mais merci d'être là.
Allez-y, séduisez-vous.
Il a fallu venir ici au festival.
Faites-vous plaisir.
Voilà, c'est tout.
Concluez, Jean-Louis. Vous êtes c'est votre histoire. Hein. Vous avez fait de nombreux films, etc. Vous comparez cette histoire à quoi? C'est molièresque, c'est shakespearien, c'est une très belle histoire que vous avez racontée. Hein.
C'est l'histoire éternelle des lieux de pouvoir. J'ai fait avant ça un livre sur Areva, qui est une entreprise française spécialisée dans le nucléaire.
Où les risques sont plus grands. Hein.
Sur l'affaire Madoff aux États-Unis. Les lieux de pouvoir sont intéressants. Il y a aujourd'hui les organisations sportives comme le CIO, comme l'UEFA aussi, hein, puisque l'UEFA va organiser l'Euro. On a les mêmes problèmes en France avec la FIFA qu'avec l'UEFA. C'est un lieu de pouvoir, voilà. Donc avec les dérives, aujourd'hui, l'impunité que ça crée, ce pouvoir, et les contrôles qui doivent être mis en place. Donc effectivement, on va tous vous regarder avec attention et espérer qu'il y ait plus de contrôle et que l'argent soit mieux utilisé, puisque le pouvoir, c'est l'argent aujourd'hui.
Merci beaucoup à vous toutes et à vous tous d'avoir été présents. Merci beaucoup. Merci.